Hello, and welcome to the latest edition of Matner's Movie Musings. Today, um, we will be discussing four new movies that have come out. These are going to be movies that came out last June, or last month, the month of June. We're going to be talking about A Quiet Place 2, The Conjuring 3, or The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and In the Heights. So, well, we're dealing with three sequels and one very original piece of work. But first, we'll start with A Quiet Place 2, Part 2, um, which I rather enjoyed. I would not recommend seeing it if you have not seen the first one. Or I would recommend seeing the first one before seeing the second one. I'm sure you could enjoy it. Maybe as much, if not maybe more if you haven't seen the original. But I actually loved A Quiet Place. I thought it was a brilliant piece of filmmaking. Especially of the genre. I'm usually not a big fan of horror movies. They don't scare me. Usually they're cheaply made, and especially Hollywood horror movies are usually made more for dollars than effect. So because they know they can make them cheap and make lots of money on them without much effort. But A Quiet Place really got to me. It's a very uh, quiet movie. So it was very effective in that sense, and that it really made use of its premise. I thought that, and just the overall effect of the movie. Um, and not to sound didactic, but it was very uh, interesting to see it was basically a silent movie, and it was basically, it brought some attention to the deaf and sign language, and um, really made that of an important something that you don't really see that often. And so it was nice to see that um, you know that champion, that character, that group of people finally getting to see themselves on screen, and in such a powerful and significant way. And the fact that it put us in that character. The film, was silent, and we were able to, we kind of saw what it was like to be in their shoes. But again, um, back to the whole purpose of the movie, I just thought it was very well made, very tightly crafted. Uh, it told this very singular story in a very straightforward way. It really wasted no time, and no details were really given. It didn't give us any backstory on the creatures. It didn't give us any whatever. It just took us right in the middle of this situation, and then it ended in a very unsettling, unknowing kind of way, where it didn't necessarily come to a complete conclusion, but it came in enough for these characters that we felt satisfied at the end, or at least I felt satisfied in the end. But moving forward, we're here to talk about part two, which picks up pretty much right where part one left off. Short of a short little prologue that actually takes us back to day one, and does um, give us, kind of what happened. I feel that that's completely unnecessary. However, it does give us a chance to see John Krasinski again, and it does kind of offer a little intro into the movie. So for those who hadn't seen the first one, they get kind of an idea of it. And plus, those who have seen the first one get a little more of more information than we previously had. Although I would say it doesn't really add anything to the experience. I was fine with not knowing where these creatures came from. It doesn't really matter. and the effect that they're just scary and badass and deadly, um, and that they react to sound, not sight. Um, they're very sensitive to sound. So, but that being said, it's an affecting opening scene or opening sequence, and then the film cuts from that to picking up where the first one left off, and we get to see where these characters um, go from there. I really won't go into any details about that, just to save these kind of films. Um, really require as little information as possible going in. You really want to know as little as possible, so I will not be one to spoil anything for you, as I will not really go into any of those details. But I will say that I feel this film was unnecessary. I don't feel like it really. I felt that the first film, like I said, was pretty solid in where it left the characters. However, for a sequel, this was very effective. It doesn't necessarily repeat itself. It is a new story. It does find new ways in which to make these characters threatening, and put these or make the creatures threatening, and put these characters in new situations. And so for a sequel, it's very well done, and it doesn't really tarnish the memory of the first one, and it really doesn't come down in quality too much from that one. Had this been the first, it might be better. Just this film really just suffers from both having been done before, having seen this premise before, and also being unnecessary in the span of it doesn't really add anything to the story. The original one pretty much did and told everything that needed to be done. But still, for what it is, it's still very effective. It's got several intense moments. The last 30 minutes of this movie are just nonstop, like intensity, just like the first one. It just doesn't quite live up to that. Again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've kind of been here somewhat and seen this before. So, still, I would recommend A Quiet Place 2. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Now, moving on and down in quality, another horror sequel, The Conjuring 3, or The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Now, I actually, once again, as I said, not really a big fan of horror movies, but The Conjuring was once again quite effective. Especially not a fan of the ghost story, the haunted house. Short of The Exorcist, there really isn't anything involving demons or spirits that really, really affect me much. Because they're not so much that the spirit part or any of that stuff. It's just because it doesn't matter whether I believe or don't believe in that. That's not my point. It's just the fact that they're just so redundant. There's just so many, the possession of, the curse of, the whatever. There's, this genre's been picked to death, ad nauseum, that there's really nothing much new left to say. However, the Conjuring, the very first Conjuring, I thought was a very effective and creepy, interpretation of this sort of material. It does, supposedly was based on fact, based on, according to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were really paranormal investigators. But this haunted house, movie was, in and of itself very well done. Moving on to Conjuring 2. Again, we a little bit down in quality, but still was very effective. Director James Wan, who had done the original Conjuring, and as well as who had done Saw, Insidious, and the underrated Dead Silence, which I thought was a very clever horror film. He didn't repeat himself with the second one. He really took it in a new direction, even though he stuck with the haunted house. It was very, very different, and still very effective. Now here we come to, The Conjuring 3, and we're moving much more down. James Wan is no longer directing, and having moved on to, you know, Fast and Furious and, movies, and Aquaman, kind of moving more in the action genre um, for a while anyway. Hopefully he'll return to horror, but anyways, in the meantime, he's handed over the reins to director Michael Chavez, who actually, I can't really fault him. His direction is well done. He has several tricks up his sleeve that he would probably probably make a very good horror movie. And in fact, he has, I cannot remember the name of his first film, but I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things. He has made a horror movie. I'm not saying he's made a good one, but he has made a previous horror movie, so which was probably why he was chosen for this. But anyway, here the movie opens up pretty routinely. It opens up with a homage to with the possession of a young boy, and then the subsequent arrival of a priest. And in this moment, there's a nice homage to The Exorcist that caused me to chuckle a little bit. And both at the audacity, and then at the recognition that at least this film is willing to blatantly reference the film from which it's stealing. So that was a nice little change. And seeing as the movie that's it's stealing from was from 50 years ago is kind of remarkable to think about. So it took someone 30 years or 50 years to at least recognize that theft. But anyways, so the film itself, this film once again is the true story. What in it is actually true is hard to say, but it does involve the real a real murder. Supposedly, it begins with the supposed possession of young David Glatzel, and according to the film, the demon that was in him was then transferred over to young Arnie Johnson, who was dating David's sister. And then shortly thereafter, Arnie murders his landlord, and possibly due to the supposed possession by the devil. All of that's interesting enough. The film really is pretty solid up to that point, up to the murder. It does keep us in the dark. There's a very mysterious quality to it up to that point, but once that event happens, the film really just becomes a convoluted mess, involving the devil possession, him being possessed by the devil, and there's not really much that can be done with it from there. I won't once again go into too many details, but there's a lot of just a lot of convoluted elements of possible suicide and the devil, and just a lot of noise and obvious effects that just really are more smoke and mirrors than anything else. And once again, the performances here by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren are just as great. They're interesting characters. Here they're just, we've met them before. We know what they do. Here they're more just window dressing for the special effects that surround the more demonic elements. And so it really doesn't come to any effect. The most interesting thing about the movie is the actual reality stuff, as far as the fact that the devil possession was actually used as a defense in this case. And if I remember right, it was the first time in a long time or something. There was some big, which makes that an interesting fact. And while I wouldn't have liked to have necessarily seen a court drama or even a court horror movie a la, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, that would have been at least a more interesting direction for the film to take. I would have liked to have seen more of that, as far as um, the effect of the devil possession in the court, and how some of that played out. However, there's no drama in that. There's no real drama at all. The film really just becomes a really routine, noise and effects fest. So, if you're into that sort of thing, you'll probably enjoy The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. The fact that it, at least up until recently, was free on HBO Max probably made it a little more of an enjoyment. But to see it in the theater, I would not recommend. And really, I wouldn't recommend it at all. It's this is definitely a case of been there, done that, and there's no real need to see this movie again. So I do give it 3 out of 5, mainly for the performances and that first 30 minutes of the film. That's really, I found to be really effective. Moving on though, onwards to totally switching gears here, to the Hitman and Wife's Bodyguard, which is a sequel to the surprise hit, The Hitman's Bodyguard, from a few years ago, which starred Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson as the most unlikely odd couple, or one of the most unlikely odd couples, since the odd couple, probably even more so actually. But they are both those two actors, as well as the characters that they play, do elevate this routine sort of situation up a notch. I mean, we've obviously seen this particular premise, 48 Hours, Rush Hour, there's Nameless, Midnight Run. There's so many different variations, both on the characters and the story, that, I could literally spend this whole time just going into that. But I wasted enough time, so let's just keep moving forward here. But yeah, that film was a really surprise success, and mainly because of the two actors. Reynolds and Jackson are both very funny, very singular personalities, and the idea of putting them together is brilliant. The film that they were in was rather routine, but it could have been a lot worse. It succeeded a lot based on them, but not solely. It did have a sharp, witty screenplay, and it actually had an interesting villain in Gary Oldman, although it was very underused in the film, but that wasn't really the point. So. But yeah, it was really fun to have those characters, and the surprise element of that film was, Samuel Jackson's wife, played by Salma Hayek, who gave a very strong, performance in that character. She was very loud, very mean, very much her own, very much a original character, and so it really was a stroke of genius, once again, in the sequel, to make her a much more prominent part of the film, if not the prominent role in the film. So that's a lot of fun. And again, this is one of those sequels where it's really more of the same, but not in a redundant way. It gives us more, but in a different way. And I really appreciated that. I liked seeing these characters together again. And there's a nice turn by Antonio Banderas here as the main villain. And so it's nice to see the reunion between Hayek and Banderas, who of course starred together in Desperado and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and seeing them, there's kind of a play on that here, and it's even though here they're foes, there is they used to be supposedly used to, apparently used to be lovers, and so there's a kind of chemistry between them that's that we see again, and that's nice to see. Um, and then there is a delightfully comedic performance by Morgan Freeman. And though I won't reveal who he plays, that detail, as well as his performance, is every moment he's in the film, provide the film's biggest laughs. Um, but they're not the only ones. I mean, there are some big laughs here. It's just, this is one of those movies. It's just a lot of fun. You just go to the movies, you sit back, you laugh, you enjoy yourself. There's not really much to it, but it is, the quintessential, kind of popcorn movie. I highly recommend this movie, for lovers of comedy and this sort of action movie. Once again, like the first one, the action scenes are pretty routine, um, in and of themselves, but are elevated by the characters and the actors. And This is just a lot of fun. So I recommend it. 4 out of 5 stars. Now we move on to In the Heights, which is the most original, best movie on um, that we're discussing here. In the Heights was actually the first Broadway musical by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who went on to have great, unexpected, success with Hamilton. Much deserved. Hamilton is a great play, um, and it's interesting to have watched Hamilton and then now see In the Heights. They're very similar, in story, in quality. You can definitely sense the same man behind them, the same, listening to the songs and whatever. This definitely feels, but it doesn't feel like the the before of that. They're just one of the same. In fact, um, it wouldn't have surprised me had Hamilton came before this, because this is in sense this is the same story, just a modernized version. It's about an immigrant, and who has a dream and wants to be better than um, quote unquote better than what he is, and um, you know, being from a poor family in a poor neighborhood. He dreams of something bigger. The main character here, Usnavi, was actually on Broadway, played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, but for a reason, maybe age wise, and also he's probably a busy man now. And also just for respect for his fellow actor, he's passed the baton on to Anthony Ramos, who played his son Philip, um, Hamilton in that play, and he does a great job. Obviously, I haven't seen the original play, so there's no comparing it to um, him, but that doesn't matter. He definitely makes the role his own. This is just a movie about life and love and dreams, and it's just such a positive, uplifting experience. It's just it just explodes off the screen, in a way that so few movies do. Usually, in that sense, you think of action and special effects and just noise, just noise for the sake of noise. And here, it's a beautiful noise, and it's just the beating of hands against a counter. And it's just and this film just really encompasses its universe, not just this Washington Heights neighborhood, and not just its Puerto Rican characters, but of all dreamers, of all foreigners, of all immigrants, as we all are, in one sense or another. Not to compare myself to these characters, but just in the sense but that's what the movie's about. It's not about division or ethnicity so much as just um, human beings and people and and our similarities. Usnavi is a bodega owner, um, but he's just like anybody who works a 9 to 5 and just dreams of a better life. He dreams of escaping the Washington Heights neighborhood that he grew up in for the tropical island. He just wants to he's been saving his money just to get away and move to an island on a beach somewhere. And really, all the characters here are dreamers. That's what it's about. It's like I said, it's about dreams. So they all dream of escaping in one way or another. But more importantly, they dream. Usnavi, as I said, of a better, more prosperous life. But then, the main characters, he also longs for the affection and the relationship of a young girl named Vanessa, who dreams of being a successful designer. And then he has a friend, Benny, who and who dreams of being with, whose dream is to be with this beautiful girl named Nina, who had moved away and has now come back. And she dreams of being free to make her own choices and being under the thumb of her father, who just really wants a better life for her. He's not. He doesn't. He means well. He's not a bad man. He's a very good father. In fact, he just his idea of a better life is different from hers, and so. And of course he dreams of a better life for his daughter. So, like as I said, it's just all about dreams, and the movie is just it's like one big dream. It's such a beautiful film. I can't really describe it. You really have to see it to believe it. And Nina's father is played by Jimmy Smits in a great role, or in a great performance. And from what I understand, like he really championed this film being made into a movie. I'm not sure if that was pre-Hamilton or not. I don't know the background of that story, but I do know that he really championed this film. So it's nice to see that Lin-Manuel Miranda, returned the favor and gave him, a spot in the movie. And that really, as I said, is what the movie is about. It's just about, everybody just coming together in solidarity. And like I said, the music is beautiful. It's if you liked Hamilton, you'll like In the Heights. It's like I said, it's just as affirming and powerful as that film. Maybe not quite as epic in scope, but definitely epic in character and just joy and just life and love and all that stuff. So it definitely covers the major qualities of life. So I've rambled on long enough. I will leave you to it. This is kind of a long one, and I apologize, but thank you for sticking with me if you have. And I forgot. I highly recommend In the Heights. 5 out of 5 stars. One of the best movies I've seen this year. One of the most joyous experiences I've had at the theaters. And next time I will be discussing F9, the Fast Saga, as well as going over all films in the Fast and Furious franchise, beginning with the first onward through the ninth. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for sticking with me and joining me for these Matt Nerd Movie Musings. Until next time, enjoy the movies and peace out.